Virgo, welcome to your monthly horoscope for March 2024. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in this video, I will be going over all of the significant energies you will be navigating for the month of March. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. Let's get right into it. As you can see, I have selected a chart for each week to give you a bit of a visual on the right side of the screen, and on the left side, I have listed the transits for each week. Now, before we get into the energy for March, I just want to talk about some of the energy that we're coming out of. That last week of February was pretty intense. We had the Mercury cazimi with Saturn at 9 degrees of Pisces, which is in your seventh house of relationships and one-on-one connections. So you want to check your personal birth chart to see if you have any personal planets or points, especially your descendant point, because you're Virgo rising, so your ascendant is in the first house, and your descendant is going to be directly across from your ascendant. And if you have your descendant point, around that 9 degrees, you would have felt this a lot more personally and a lot more intense. So there's a lot of energy right now for you, Virgo, around relationships and one-on-one connections, how you connect within relationships. Saturn being in that seventh house is having you become accountable for your part in relationships, what you put out, what you give. And there can be a lot coming to the surface. Not just that, but we've also been moving through that North Node Chiron conjunction here in Aries, which is in your eighth house. And the eighth house can rule psychological healing and transformation. So there's quite a lot going on for you right now psychologically. And Virgo is that sign that can be very mental. Worry and stress can always be kind of at the forefront for Virgos. They're worriers. And I'm also Virgo rising, so I'm not saying anything against Virgos. It is what it is. That's what we are, right? We worry, we stress, sometimes about nothing, but a lot of times it is about something. But maybe I'm just saying that because I'm Virgo rising. But either way, this North Node and Chiron energy, I feel like, is bringing a lot to the surface around how you connect in relationships, your part in relationships, really having you own your stuff within relationships. And generally during a Mercury cazimi, this is when we have, some type of epiphany or insight or clarity around something. So I would love to hear in the comments below how this showed up for you, because this transit is so unique. And I just want to hear all the stories. I've kind of been saying this to all the signs. How did this energy show up for you, especially when it has to do with you and your partnerships, your one-on-one connections? It takes Saturn about 29 years to transit the zodiac. So this is an energy that is almost completing that we've been in since the mid 90s. So depending on your age is going to depend really on how this kind of shows up. But there is a cycle here. There's a cycle, a completion, an ending to something, whether it has to do with how you connect in relationships, or maybe it has to do with just people that are no longer in alignment with you, that you're releasing and letting go. Saturn may have brought a lot. Saturn can sometimes feel restrictive and can bring challenge. However, this energy is very karmic. So there's karmic completions, karmic endings to something, and it can be, very psychological for you, especially because Mercury is your chart ruler. So this more than likely has to do with you kind of figuring out how maybe you can get in your own way with relationships, especially mentally, like overthinking, overanalyzing everything, thinking, there's issues when there's no issues, and, things like that. Now, on March 1st, we're going to have the Sun sextile Jupiter and Venus sextile Chiron. And again, Venus forming a sextile to Chiron, I look at this as beautiful supportive energy coming in for that healing journey that's taking place psychologically, which is great. And the Sun sextile to Jupiter, again, is beautiful insight, opportunity, support coming in to help with whatever you've been moving through within relationships and how you connect to people. Now, on the 2nd, Venus is going to form form a square to Uranus. Now, Venus also rules your second house of money, finances, and material possessions and your personal values. And Venus generally rules values and what we need, want, and desire. And Venus also is the dispositor of Jupiter and Uranus and is the ruler of that ninth house of belief systems and higher education, higher knowledge, philosophy, religion. But there is something here that can be quite shocking and disruptive when we have this Venus square to Uranus. It could have to do with finances. It could have to do with your personal values and belief systems being questioned, or maybe too with relationships, with whatever's kind of going on within relationships. You're really having to, look at your values and belief systems and maybe adjust them a little bit, or maybe realize that this person is no longer in alignment because you don't hold the same values or belief systems, but either way, there can be, something kind of shaking up here brought to your attention so that it can be adjusted to be aligned with now your new direction, if that makes sense. Now, on the 8th, we're going to have Mars square Uranus, and this is going to be very disruptive. We're really going to see this collectively now in our own individual lives. When we have that Mars square to Uranus, we're also going to have Mercury conjunct Neptune and the Sun sextile Uranus. So this is really interesting. Mars is currently in your 6th house of work, health, and daily routine. So Mars can be shaking something up in this area of life. With this square to Uranus, there can be something quite disruptive. Uranus also rules Aquarius, which is where Mars is. So there can be something really shaken up here. Now, Mars generally rules our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action, also anger, aggression, and conflict. So we do want to be watching for all of that. Now, what we do want to do is we want to lean on the Sun sextile to Uranus because that is going to bring us some support. So there may be a need to lean on those one-on-one connections and relationships at this time to help get you through whatever this Mars square to Uranus is around maybe health, or maybe being overwhelmed with your routines, maybe being overwhelmed at work, feeling very overwhelmed with your day-to-day life. You may want to lean on those around you and those close to you to help get you through, kind of what you're moving through at this time. Because Mercury is going to be conjunct Neptune, Mercury being your chart ruler, there can be a lot of confusion. There can be, the path ahead is not clear at this time with Mercury conjunct Neptune. So this is an energy we don't want to be making any rash decisions with this. We want to ride the wave. We want to sit with it. We don't want to be making any sudden, decisions, choices, risks at this time, especially with Mercury conjunct Neptune, because there's something we're not seeing clearly. There's cloudiness here. So this is a day we do just want to be very mindful. Now on the 9th, we'll have Mercury entering Aries. So that really shifts the energy because we go from having Mercury in Pisces, which is a very mutable energy, to Mercury in Aries. And now our mindset is very go, go, go. It's, you want to initiate, you want to start moving forward, you want to start implementing things, putting things in place. On the 10th, we're going to have the new moon in Pisces and Mercury sextile Pluto. So this is a great energy for major psychological healing and transformation. Having Mercury in your 8th house of psychological healing and transformation, being your chart ruler, sextiling Pluto, this really can be an opportunity to transform mentally in some way. Now, with the new moon in Pisces, this is a great time to set intentions for your relationships and one-on-one connections. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on the new moons and the full moons because I do post new moon and full moon forecasts going into all 12 rising signs, and I go into the charts for the moon. So make sure you watch for that. But what I will say about this new moon in Pisces is that this is what initiates us into eclipse season. So once we get to the 10th of March, energy starts to become heavier. With that being said, I'm going to touch on the nodes for a little bit because you have the North Node in your 8th house in Aries and the South Node in your 2nd house in Libra. And the nodes represent where we're having the eclipses. And so I'm going to get into talking about the eclipses in this forecast just a little bit later on, because on March 25th, we're going to have our lunar eclipse in Libra. But the North Node represents the direction we're moving into. It's a new direction. And the South Node represents where we are releasing something and letting something go, or where something can be coming back from the past, because the South Node represents the past. Now, once we get to that second week of March, on the 11th, we're going to have Venus enter Pisces, and now we have Saturn. So Venus is entering your seventh house of relationships. You're wanting to connect with other people. You're wanting to spend time with those that you love, maybe forming new one-on-one connections. So I see a lot of times with clients, family, and friends, Venus being in the seventh house, they get into relationships or form friendships. Now, Saturn is here. Venus is exalted in Pisces, so she does very well. She is a welcomed guest in Pisces. She can express herself. She loves being in Pisces. But with Saturn, it can feel a little restrictive. It's definitely going to, I don't think it's going to be challenging. I think Saturn being in Pisces with Venus is giving her the ability to really form solid, committed partnerships for you, because it's in that seventh house. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And I would love to hear your comments below, because we will have that Venus connect to Saturn, and we'll get into that in the next slide. But on the 16th and 17th, the sun is going to form a conjunction to Neptune. And I really love this for energy work, spiritual work, intuition. The sun is our life force energy and consciousness, and Neptune represents, spirituality, intuition. So this is a great day to do any intuitive work or energy work or spiritual work. But this day can become a little confusing when it has to do with us taking action or the direction that we're kind of moving in. So this is a day to kind of just go with the flow and feel the energy and do a lot of just maybe even healing on yourself. Now, once we get to that third week of March on the 18th, we will have Mercury conjunct the North Node, and that is when Mercury enters pre-shadow. So also this month, Virgo, this is the last month that we have all planets direct, because on April 1st, we're going to have Mercury station retrograde. So once Mercury reaches 15 degrees of Aries, which is where the North Node is sitting, Mercury enters pre-shadow. That is when the pre-shadow is where Mercury is going to retrograde back. So once Mercury reaches the degree point to where Mercury is going to retrograde to, this becomes the area of our life that we're rethinking, reevaluating, and all those RE words that are associated with Mercury. So once Mercury reaches that 15-degree point on the North Node, you want to start paying attention to what's showing up for you psychologically. Now, the 8th house also represents money coming in from outside resources and your partner's finances. The 8th house has this death and rebirth energy. So you want to start paying attention to what is showing up, your thoughts, your mentality, what you're thinking about, even what is showing up in the outside world and your physical reality, because these are things that you're going to be addressing and moving through for the next few weeks or in the next month, because Mercury is going to station retrograde on April 1st and then move back. And Mercury is actually going to station direct on that North Node at 15 degrees, which is extremely significant. So Mercury's retrograding over the North Node in Chiron, which I think is bringing more intense healing to the surface for everyone. For you, it is going to be psychologically. So there, again, can be a lot showing up psychologically for you that you're having to move through and release. Now, on the 19th and 20th, the sun is going to enter Aries. We start a brand new zodiacal new year. This is a great time to set intentions for the year ahead. This is our astrological new year. And the sun will be in your 8th house again, bringing some support to the psychological healing and transformation taking place. Now, on the 20th, we'll have Mercury conjunct Chiron. So this again can have to do with that healing energy and, some thoughts or information or conversation that maybe you're having that can help you navigate this whole healing process. On the 21st, we'll have Venus conjunct Saturn in your 7th house. So again, comment below. I want to know how this shows up for you. But if you have your descendant around that 12 degrees of Pisces, you're going to feel this very intense. But this can be some type of committed partnership. I mean, it could be an ending, but I really look at this because Venus is exalted. I look at this more as just forming really solid connections for you, to be honest. Committed partnerships, marriage, even possibly, because Saturn can rule marriage, right? Now on the 22nd, we will have Mars enter Pisces. So we go from having Mars in Aquarius to Mars being in Pisces. Now, Pisces is a mutable water sign. So having Mars in Pisces it is going to change the energy up quite a bit when it has to do with our motivation, willpower, and drive. We will feel that energy shift, and having Mars in your seventh house can bring, busyness with relationships or even possibly conflict. So we do want to be cautious of that. Now, then we get to the final week of March, and on the 25th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Libra. So I want you to think back to October of 2023. What started for you, Virgo, especially around Libra generally rules relationships, but for you, Libra is in that second house of money, finances, and material possessions. There's something finalizing here. There's a completion. There can also be something that you're done with, that you're releasing, that you're letting go because, whatever was initiated and showing up for you at the time of the solar eclipse in Libra back in October, there's more to that story coming in. I really look at the nodes being in signs. They represent where we're having the eclipses. The nodes take about 18 months to transit a sign. And I really look at this as an 18-month story playing out. And every time we have an eclipse, we have new energy coming in and changes coming in for that story. So there's more to the story that began back in October. And it can be, around your money, finances, and material possessions. Now, at that same time, though, Venus, the ruler of Libra and that south node, is going to be in your seventh house. So again, it really could have to do with, I think, relationships and partnerships for you. Now, on the 27th, we're going to have Venus forming a sextile to Uranus. So there can be some beautiful, unexpected support coming in with relationships, which is nice. Uranus does bring in this kind of unexpectedness to the transit. But it's a sextile. And sextiles, we have to take action. It's not like a trine where it's an easy flowing energy that just comes in. A sextile can be something, an opportunity that arises, but you have to take action to receive the benefits of. And this is one of those things. So somebody may be coming into your life, and that maybe could be a committed partnership or, something along those lines. But you're going to have to go on that date. You're going to have to take action. You're going to have to return that phone call, something like that. Maybe an unexpected blind date. I don't know. Do people still do that? I don't know. It could be a blind date. That could totally be a Venus sextile Uranus thing. But anyways, Virgo, thank you so much for joining me. I hope this helps you navigate the energies for March. Let me know in the comments below how this month is for you and how that Mercury cazimi with Saturn showed up, especially around you and your partnerships. And I would love to hear kind of what you're moving through right now with, the North Node and Chiron in your eighth house. Are you going through a lot of psychological healing and transformation? I would love to hear in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. And I will connect with you in the next one.